All right, well, we really want to get started just so that we have time to do what we need to do. First of all, thank you. This is a grand experiment. And as I said, who knows what's getting ready to happen, but you were here to put someone we've all heard from. You were here in the Zoom room where it happened. So should be exciting. If you need to get up to get supplies to do whatever, that is fine. I probably will too, because I'm sure I've forgotten something. So I do appreciate you being interested in doing this. I've been working on the computer all day, doing some work for my school. So having time to paint is a lovely, lovely thing. So if we could, let's go to prayer, please. Lord our God, you have given us the ability to create, and we are grateful. So we ask that in this time, but we will create friendships, and we will create you.
No, can you hear me at all?
Amen.
Yes.
I can't hear a thing.
Okay, so the volume on your computer. Okay, you might want to.
I'm going to leave and try again.
Yeah, just to get rid of background noise, and then as we need to have conversation, unmute yourself and jump in. But we will have at least kind of the ability to hear one another. So. Steph, can you hear everybody? There we go. Oh, I am unmuted by the host. Yay. Okay, as I was saying, I'd like for there to be conversation, so feel free to unmute, to ask, to talk, to do that, but just so that as we get started, it's easier to get going. How many of you were on one of the webinars? Okay. I'll give a short version. I didn't want to repeat myself and have you go, geez, doesn't she know anything new? Yeah, you know. So tonight, in the process of this and looking at how the illustrations for the study were done, we're going to start with blank canvas or paper, and we are going to have show and tell at the end, but there's no judgment. It's all good. The first layer is this idea. It's paint that's just scumbled together. I'll show you a few lifting techniques, ways to make that a little more interesting than just the paint. And then finally, we'll do the white on top of it, which in the study has both particular symbols for each lesson and then one of the vessels for each lesson as well. So this is the best way to start ever, because really you can't do anything wrong. It's about putting paint down and smushing them together. So the best way to do it is just to do it. So everybody get ready. Grab a brush. What I'm going to do is just pick a couple of colors, none of which will be red because it's my least favorite color. Although I grabbed alizarin crimson, so that's kind of funny. We'll start with purple. So all you're going to do, and like I said, there's no wrong way to do this. So the couple of things to think about. If you have colors next to each other on the color wheel, they will blend together easier. So blue, green, yellow. If you have colors that are across from each other on the color wheel, like blue and orange are complementary colors, when you mix them, they're going to form a neutral, so a brown or a gray. So as you're putting colors down, as you're thinking about how you, which way you want to do, how you want the colors to look, that's just one thing to think about. Again, neutrals are beautiful, and every pairing that makes a neutral is different. So there's, again, not a wrong way to do it. All right. So somebody said in the chat that you do paint things for your congregation. So unmute and tell us about that while we put on our canvases, please.
So that's me that's me that sent the chat out for that. For about 2 years now, almost maybe 3, no 2. I create a story around a scripture reading or a some theme, and then we paint in different we do like you would do if you're doing a painting for Twist, where you're following a directions to some extent, but at the same time, at each step of that picture, there's some introspective thoughts that are to be introduced and processed at that point. And so it's sometimes we've done the symbols of Advent and how they're similar to certain symbols at Easter. We've done the story of poinsettia. We've done paintings where there's a pathway going to the lake, and it talks about the grains, and if it lands in the soil or in the sand, how does your faith grow relative to where you're planted, and how can you make it richer? So we basically get a group of people together, about 10 of 14 of us, and we just sort of work through that. One Lent we had loaves of bread and from all over the world, and we made a picture of a loaf of bread and a communion cup, but we were talking about the bread of life and the strength of bread in each person's life and in the community of hunger and different levels. And I have saved the scripts to share them if anybody is ever interested, because I think that you go through all that effort to do the research and the thought process. Now, the paintings aren't beautiful, but it's never about the painting. It's about getting there in the thought process and centering on God.
That's a great idea. Were you able to do that remotely? Have you
been? No. Ironically, though, a bunch of the people that do participate in that are anxious to see what cover occurs here, and they want me to do that for them because they couldn't join into this.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
So there's like a painting groupie group.
If you're going to have a groupie group, that's the one to have. Nice. What else do your congregations use art? You may not know, my day job is teaching high school art. So, so this is, I'm also a minister. So my sweet spot is kind of where those two intersect. So you can either say I'm curious or nosy. I'll be willing to accept either adjective.
I'm an open book, and I share anything that I do and think with anybody who asks. I don't volunteer, but I will, and
there you go.
So I'll share. I'm Joey from Portland, Oregon. Congratulations, Katie, on winning for being the youngest person here. I go to First Presbyterian downtown, and our church actually has a retreat facility called Manuka. I don't know if any of you have ever been there. It's in the Columbia Gorge, and it's beautiful. Oh, Lynn's been there.
Well, actually, my event was canceled, but Dudley Weaver was my pastor.
He was that's wonderful. So you know Dudley. Wonderful. So
I was there for transitional ministry training last year.
Oh, so you know the wonderfulness that
last fall. Yeah, I recommend it.
Well, thank you. So do I. But one of the things is that in the Northwest, it's called the nun zone because everybody answers nun when you ask what their church affiliation is. And so Manuka is a great way to minister to people where they're at in a way that they can understand. And so several years ago, I was on the finance committee, and they were like, how do we reach new people that haven't that don't necessarily know Jesus and that kind of thing. And I said, well, we just need to have like some kind of artistic retreat, like I'm a scrapbooker and I make cards and my daughter paints and stuff like that. So now we offered this workshop called the Scrap and Sew Retreat, and we do it 3 times a year now, and it fills up on its own, and it's not just about scrapping and sewing. There's quilters and painters and watercolorers and you name it, and it's all just getting your creativity on. And I think the best part about it is, how do I say it? The camaraderie, just like this, right? You can stop, you can do whatever makes your heart happy, and then you can stop and say, oh, what is it that you're working on? Tell me about this. And you can say, oh, my friend has breast cancer and I'm making a quilt for her or whatever. And then, oh, this is for my son who's graduating from college and that kind of thing. And so we have just found that it's really blessed our church and our congregation and the people who come in so many other ways. They come for the crafts, so to speak, like the creativity, and then they come to this beautiful place that allows them to meet God where they're at and everything. So that's why I was interested in this. I saw this from the PCUSA thing from our women's prayer group, and I absolutely intend to go back and maybe do something like this with them. But I encourage everyone to go to Manuka if they can and get their craft on. Thank you for doing this, Lynn.
What's the website? How do we find Manuka?
Manuka.org, MENUCHA.org. And under programs, there's the Scrap and Sew Retreats.
That is fun.
Yeah, and we have a whole separate watercolor one, and then so many different arts and crafts, and it's very cathartic for a lot of people. It's the way that they express their faith. So
nice, love that. Thank you. Okay, road trip to Portland. Who's in? All right, as you're processing through this, one of the things that I did in the illustrations and that you can see here is that there are some white spots on there. The way to do those while your painting is still a little wet, and mine is not quite finished, but it is still a little wet. If you take with your brush and just drip some water on it, let it sit for a minute. I pick it up and show you, but then I wouldn't have drips, I'd have runs. Let it sit for a minute. And then where the water is, okay, I'm gonna make a run. I told Betsy, this is the kitchen table my parents bought when they got married, so it's older than I am. And it just is terrible looking. So if I drip acrylic paint on it, it really won't matter. So you can see, like here, where I've picked that up with the paint. So it was just the drop of water. It sat for a minute. I'm trying to see if I can be Vanna White and do this. So you can see where that's coming off. So if you get too much off, you just let it dry and then you put paint back over it. But what that does is it can give you a tier effect or idea, if that's one of the things you want to work with. It can also just make the surface a little more interesting and organic because you're not planning the shape. And then when you come in with the white paint on top of it, it will sit in interesting ways and places. So you might give that a try if you're interested. And like I said, the best part is, if you don't like it, paint over it. Okay, who's already decided they don't like the color that one of the colors that they used? I have. Time to paint over it.
Lynn, can you repeat what you said about the water drops? You just leave it there, or do you wipe it off? You just let it sit?
Leave it there for, 30 seconds, and then with a paper towel, you should be able to just blot it, and where the water was, it should come up. Now, if you were my students, you'd try it, and then it would work, and you'd look at me and you'd say, Dr. Miller, that really worked. Bless their hearts. So tell them they're going to have to stop sounding surprised. But yeah, and if you can just drip, you can, depending on where you are, kind of fling the water a little, get your Jackson Pollock on. And you may need to look kind of at an angle if you can and see where the water is. If your paint is fully dry, it won't work, but you can always, oh look, I got purple paint on the table. You can always paint on top of it, and then when that paint is still wet, you can try it. And it will go down, it will pick up the top layer and go down to the paint color under it. So like on one of mine, I picked up the top and it was yellow underneath. So now I have this weird little yellow dot in the middle of things. So remember too, you can have thick paint. You could make some of it very watery, like a watercolor. Paint one layer and then do that thin kind of watered down version on top of it, of a different color, to get the optical mix of the paint in there. You can also, as the paint is still drying, where it's a little bit, you can go back in and just scrub it with some clean water and then blot that, and that will give you an additional layer that it'll pick up. Sometimes it'll pick up all the way down back to the white of the canvas. Sometimes you'll get one of the colors underneath. You can just scrub whole areas if you want. Let's see if I can do it. But like for that spot, that's just water scrubbed on there and then picked up with the paper towel. So I think anything, the purpose of this underlayer was really, in terms of lament, to try to find a process or a look that captured the emotion that comes when we get to the point that we need to lament. So if it's messy, if it's disorganized, if it's chaotic, I think that's probably, at least for me, a fairly decent representation of how things are, that you recognize, okay, this isn't what life is supposed to be like. This is not what God intended. So just kind of let it go on that lower layer.
Glenn, this is Steph. When you were doing the paintings for the Bible study, how long did each one take?
The thinking took a long time. I kind of did them all in a weekend. I had done, I had my palette picked out. I knew what I was going to do. I had the sketches done of what they were going to be. So I once I sat down to do them, they went fairly quickly because I didn't start them until I knew where they were going. So everybody look at Betsy's face and see if I waited until the last minute to do that. She's thinking, right, you should have started them earlier, Lynn.
No, the timing was perfect.
But I'm a big planner when I paint. I rarely I rarely go with the flow. If I do that, it's because it's just I just need a cathartic emotional painting experience. But normally I've thought about what I want to do and how I want to do it and why I want to do it. So I don't know, they may kick me out of the artist world for that.
So what are you talking about? Did you make some paintings that she's referring to?
The illustrations in the book are mine.
In what book?
In the study book.
Okay.
In the PW study book, I did the illustrations as well as writing the study. And I don't have a book sitting with me. There you go, Betsy.
Right here. It's the Into the Light Bible Study.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
I knew I would forget to get something. Oops, that's the study book. All right, so would everybody feel comfortable in about 10 minutes having some show and tell? Because I'm curious as heck, and I can't make y'all show me work like I can my students. Because normally what I would do is say, Rebecca, what are you working on? So in about 10 minutes, if you feel inclined, we'll stop for a minute and kind of see what each other's doing.
And at this point, we're just smushing paint?
Just smushing paint. I was going to say, there's what mine looks like right now.
Okay.
Kind of a hot mess.
So is there, what does the white dots, what are they supposed to represent, or are they supposed to tie into the?
For me, they were tears.
Gotcha.
So that kind of just drop, and some of them splatter, and some of them are kind of contained. That's what they were for me.
I have a question. Is this being recorded?
It is.
Yes, yes, it is.
Okay, so and we'll be able to share it with our congregation or with our women's group.
Yes, it will be on the placed on the PW YouTube channel in a few days. So by Friday at the latest, you'll be able to see the recording there.
Okay, thank you.
One other way, if you want to get texture, let me put some on here. And I blobbed some white on there. And then with probably a clean paper towel would be better, but I'm going to use one with paint all over it. You can just blot up some of that. You can smear it around. You can and it'll just give it a different texture than either the brushed on that you've done or picked it up completely down into the onto the canvas. So you can pull it and like give it a direction, almost like explosion kinds of lines coming out, or push everything all the way through if you wanted to kind of feel water, wind, cloud sorts of feelings. You can do the edges of your canvas if you want, but you don't have to. If you're going to frame it, you might not want to. But if you're going to just hang it or display it like this, you might want to do the edges, just some color bleeding over. Doesn't have to be a ton of thought or time, but just so that there's not white edges. I always forget and then have to go back and do it at the end. So I'm trying to remember now.
I have a question for the group. What kind of music do you all like to listen to, if at all, to inspire you when you're doing crafty stuff?
Show tunes all the way.
I've just discovered a Sirius XM channel called Country and Pop Hits. Country Hits and Pop Hits. And I actually get up in the morning. It's the first thing I turn on because I have, I think, low blood sugar in the morning. So I'm dragging, kind of depressed, just don't have my momentum or my motivation. So I turn that on and it works. It's a special channel.
What number on Sirius? What, do you know the channel number?
Let me check.
I have Hamilton right now. So, yeah.
It's extra channel country and pop mix.
Ah, nice.
The extra channel.
All right. Take another seat, and then if you're willing to share, to hold up your painting and show us where you are so far. Obviously, if it's wet, please don't do that. You can see it now. They were all beautiful until, okay, so one at a time. Somebody do and tell us about your picture. Why'd you pick the color? We had some shows. Nobody's willing to tell.
Okay, I will.
Okay, is that you, Martha? Make sure your video's on if you're showing. Okay, Leslie, tell us about your picture. Those colors are gorgeous.
Thank you. Yeah, Katie says she's not brave enough yet to share hers, so I'm only going to share mine for right now. And I don't know, when we were in the paint store, I had every intention of coming out with a selection of purples and pinks and just rosy colors. And then we got there and I saw this yellow and the peach. And all of a sudden I was like, yeah, no, I'm supposed to go with more earthy. I guess it's feeling more summery to me. Katie says it looks like a sunset to her.
I thought
like
the
a
same
hazy
thing, Katie. You're right on target.
Sky kind of thing. And I don't know if you can see it though. I did do the water droplets, and it is working on some sections.
Those
I don't know if you can see.
The paint was probably thicker and therefore not quite as dry. Because like where that dark green is, that was probably thicker paint. And those are the two that I can see, that one and then over on the right.
So in person, there's more subtle. Yeah, in person, I promise there's more subtle drops.
You don't have
then,
whatever you've got is good.
And then as far as music is concerned, because I listen to everything, and it really just depends on my mood. I listen to everything from, the only thing I don't listen to is rap, but opera, blues standards, Ella Fitzgerald is always good for creative musing, I think. I don't know. I tend to sometimes I'll just put it on Pandora and let them mix it.
Oh, good stuff. Thank you. Yay, you for being brave. You get extra points on your grade for going first.
And I'm one of the co-moderators for your Bible study at Westminster for the coming year. And I can't not say 2020, 2021 without thinking of your video. That cracked me up.
It's the worst date ever.
This is Christine here in Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania, and I'm afraid I'm going to lose my connection. So I'm going to do this really quickly. Sorry. I've got greens and blues and a little bit of yellow, and I think it looks a lot like a night sky, but maybe it looks like a lush forest. I'm not sure.
Can be both. Don't we love that those two things can both look alike? Love that.
So I've never done this before. I do not paint. Give me a needle and thread.
Well, clearly you do paint, because look at that.
I just did this, but I'm a needle and thread person.
Okay, so what you might think about doing, it's harder to do if the paint is dry and whatever, but you can embroider on canvases. I had a student who did that this year.
Oh, this is a panel.
You can do needle and thread on that instead of painting on top of it. Take your needle and thread and do something cool with that.
Except this is a panel. This is not a canvas.
That would be more difficult. You need a drill.
Yeah.
Drill those holes through.
Sorry about that.
Well, you could glue yarn.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of possibilities, and I'll just see what happens.
There you go. Nice, thank you. And we didn't lose you, so that's good.
I have one here.
Oh, that's cool.
I wasn't blending the colors, I was streaking the colors. Okay. And this is a used canvas that I had done before. So where the water drops went, it turned teal. And so I put gesso over them to make them white. And I didn't like that. And so I sort of covered them up again. So I've got gray or different shadings of the streaks. So it's just a comedy of error.
It's beautiful.
There are no errors, only opportunities. Because the best thing is I have a used canvas as well because I didn't like it. So yeah, gesso covers the whole thing, start completely over. Mm-hmm. Love the streaks. That's a cool thing.
This is Liz Savard in Chattanooga. And because we are in lockdown, I'm just using cardstock tonight.
That's fine.
I can't go out to get anything. I'm a retired teacher and also a quilter. You can tell by the piece behind me.
Flying geese. I love flying geese.
That's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
And the piece I did tonight, I've been working all day on a Baltimore album quilt. And so this is very reminiscent of what I've been working on all day. Can you see that at all? I don't know, the sun's in the way now. But I just used some blues and some greens, a little bit of purple, but my paint dries very quickly. And so using that water technique was not at all successful. I did have a scrub technique over here just to add a little something different.
Mm-hmm. And
I also teach
down, but you can gesso cardstock.
Right.
So if you're doing this with a group and don't want to get canvases for everyone, gesso the cardstock and it'll work just like canvas. It'll pick up, it'll do.
And it'll leave your paint open for long enough to attempt some other kind of techniques too. I also teach our lessons at our circle. And so I will be working with your lessons this year.
I hope it's here for you.
Can I go next with you? And let's see. Can you see that?
Look. It's so pretty.
Use the bush. So.
Oh, that's pretty.
That is pretty.
You have a whole room, a craft room.
It's on now.
Okay.
I can share. Oops. It's paper. I'm Susan Holly, and I'm in California, West Coast, and part-time in China teaching. But the picture, to me, life is so rich, and there's so much that's good, and yet the gray that's over this and the tears that come is what's present for me today.
Love that. Love that. The line in there that you see. That's really nice. We should probably not do another one of these because what if their stuff isn't as good as y'all's? That'd be sad. Anybody else want to share?
Okay, this is Martha.
Okay.
And I love bluebirds, and I don't have bluebirds in Florida. I had bluebirds in Indiana, 3 or 4 nests every summer. So this is my bluebird that's going to go on here. Oops, can you see it? There. So, my bluebird.
We have bluebirds around here, but I never see one. So.
I haven't either.
Nice. Anybody else? Oh, Renee.
So I'm Renee Prager. I'm the moderator in First Presbyterian Church in Concord, North Carolina, and my daughter is with me today. We're hoping to get some of our young adults involved in PW this year. Mine is very plain. It's an open canvas. I don't paint. I don't have artistic skills, so I'm just going step by step.
There you go.
You can tell them about yours. It's kind of a sun cloud type of thing. I don't know. Yellow. So
colors are great. Nice. Okay, and you should totally get involved in PW. I started when I was in the 8th grade making signs for, well, what was it called then? Synodical Training School for my mom. So PW is great. Yes. Anybody else want to share?
I'm Miriam from Northern Michigan. Although the church that I attend and where I'll be leading the Zoom circle we formed for this coming year, we have 3 circles at our church, and one's just going to be Zoom. I live on a lake, and so I was trying to capture the depth of the lake and the colors. So I used a bunch of blues and a bunch of white and a bunch of black.
Nice. Blues are the best. Love them.
Thank you.
Okay. Kelly. Okay, we can't hear. Can you unmute, Kelly? There you go.
Sorry. I don't know if I've got the light on it or not. It's purple and blue, and I was going to go dark and do gray or something, and then I just decided I wanted to be more cheerful, so I added the light peach. And this is just totally random, just playing with brush strokes because I don't do this very often, just kind of seeing what it looked like.
There you go.
Carol, last one. Mine's are blues and greens and purples. Those are kind of my favorite colors. And it reminds me right now of the sky that we see a lot with the summer in late. We've been trying to watch for the space station and for the comet.
Oh. So are you a quilter?
I am a quilter. You know that.
Somehow I'm looking at that background and yeah.
My daughter sewed that together today.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So
good stuff.
It was kind of fun. I'm working on another piece, and I put in 3 seams and take out 2 because I can't seem to read the directions.
Well, you know.
Yeah, well.
When you're retired, you got time, right?
Yeah, it's a mystery quilt, so it's, I didn't plan it, so.
Hey.
I've got to get off the call. I've got to go teach Sunday school on Zoom.
Oh.
I guess it's Wednesday school, and it's the present word. But I wanted to show my project. I decided I'd just get out the project I was supposed to do during COVID. I bought this pig at Piggy Bank at Michael's 3 months ago, and I was supposed to be painting it. And then I bought a large one too. I guess they're ceramic, and I decided to do the small one tonight. So I did splatter paint.
Oh, that's fun.
We have a new granddaughter, so this will be hers.
Love that.
But thank you for having this, Lynn and Betsy. And
thank you for teaching Wednesday school. Yay, you.
Wednesday school. All right.
Where is Mary?
And Steph's behind the candle.
and Laura's up there in front of the gorgeous art.
Oh, good.
We're all happy to have you here.
Thank you all. I love that candle. That's so nice. We're going to do our PW Bible study on Tuesday nights via Zoom, and we're going to have men and women.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Let us know how that goes.
Yeah, we've been having one man. This will be his 3rd year on there, so we're excited.
Wonderful.
He's 92, and he's an active elder for the first time.
Oh, wow. That's great.
Great guy named Bill.
Oh,
Bye, y'all.
Bye, Lucia.
Bye.
All right. Anybody else want to share?
I'll show mine. It's just a lot of purple and green and blue.
It feels like the Northern Lights to me.
Yes, and a few of and my white dots did real well.
They did do real well. Yes. All right. So, anybody else? I don't want to stop anybody. Oh, there's Arlene. That's pretty. I like the pink and blue. Or it's pink from here. Maybe, is it orange? Pink, peach, coral. I know I need to develop like Zoom for art because it's so much harder to do. All right, so that's the bottom layer of these of the illustrations. Like I said, sort of that emotional, and your paint should hopefully be dry pretty much by now too, so that we can move on to the top layer. Now, for the illustrations, I used white paint just because I did. You could use some other color to do the design that's on top. I think I suggested in the list of things, you could use things like cookie cutters or stencils, or if you don't want to freehand things, you could do, and then play with whether you paint the shape or whether you paint the area around the shape. So you can trace it on to the canvas if you want. I sometimes have a hard time seeing pencil on these, and as the sun is going down, I mean, I spend my time doing so. I'm just going to play a little bit, I think. But putting that design down the way you want it. As I said, there are 2 separate things on the illustrations. Each lesson has particular symbols or ideas that relate to the lesson, and I think it's on page 8 and 9 in the study book that talks more about those individual things and why I chose them. And then there's a vessel on each page as well, or on each illustration for each lesson. Thinking about the vessel as sort of the parallel to the prayer, the skeletal form of the prayer of lament, those 5 parts of the prayer that are in most biblical laments. Give our laments a shape. It's not always the same. There are some elements that come and go. Interestingly, there are, in the communal laments, there's not always the assurance that the statement of assurance that God has heard the prayer, which I think is really interesting, where it's in, I think, all that I found of the individual laments. So I don't know if we're just less certain as a group of people that God hears or what. But that structure of the lament gives us a place to start in organizing, in pulling together all of these emotions and situations that are represented by the bottom layer. So deciding what pattern, if you hadn't come up with a subject matter, think about things that you can draw easily, like hearts, or use your hand. That idea of hands being raised to God. Maybe one, you trace around one hand and paint inside, and then you trace around the other hand and you paint outside the way that it is on here. So that's subject matter that you carry with you. And I think certainly is related to this idea of prayers of lament. You may also have something that's completely different. You may have, as my friend Dell does, a cookie cutter in the shape of a West Highland Terrier because she has 3 of them. So you may just want to do something fun in your painting, and that is fine too. So think about draw if you need to or want to, and then think how to apply those symbols, those ideas on top of these colors. You may want to try to do it a little strategically. For you quilters, this is the equivalent of fussy cutting. Find the spot in your picture that you want to highlight inside that heart or that circle. Interlocking circles is a really interesting idea, I think, for the ideas of lament. You can paint some places where the circles overlap. You can paint some circles. You can paint some outside the circles. And so you may want to highlight things. There may be parts of your painting that just happened, except, as I've said before, we're Presbyterian. Nothing just happens. But that you want to focus on for your picture. So that is the next step, is establishing your design and then starting to paint. You can use white. You could use black, you could use purple, you could use whatever other color works with your color scheme or is a color that you love. But having that single color on top helps kind of bring the whole thing together. Although, if you want to try everything in a different color, I would love to see how that works out. So that is the next step, subject matter. I just talked myself into doing circles because I really like them. But I have to go get a cup to draw around. So do any of the rest of you have men who are Presbyterian women or circles that are like my group, which is called the semicircle? Because we're not kind of a circle and kind of not. How does Presbyterian women look at in your congregations?
Lynn, this is Liz. I am the vice moderator of the Presbytery of East Tennessee, for the Presbyterian Women of East Tennessee. And we have so many different ways that the Presbyterian women in the various churches are configured. But one of the things that we don't have are men in the various groups. We have one man in our church who would love to be a Presbyterian woman, but he is not encouraged. But we do have all different kinds of organizations and all different that meet in all different ways. Some meet different times of the day. Some meet several times a month. Some meet only one time a month. Just as many different configurations as you can think of. that make it possible for working women, young women, older women, women who are confined to nursing homes or assisted livings. We're really trying to make accommodations for everyone to be able to hear the Word of God and to be comfortable and to be involved in what it means to be a Presbyterian woman.
That's great. And I'm so sorry that you're one man. Come on, be brave. He can do this.
It's gotten to be a joke. We also do some of our lessons we do as Wednesday night supper topics. And so he's really not left out. But he just, I think our circle does it as brunch. We serve brunch every time. I think he's coming for the meal.
We do the same thing, but as dinner, because we all work, and sometimes we all just come for the meal too.
I think. Don't feel too sorry for him.
I don't know if our presbytery has an active Presbyterian women. I almost hate to admit that, but I honestly don't know. And I'm, like I'm a pastor there, so I go to all the Presbyterian meetings. You think I would hear something? So I'm guessing it's not if we do have one, it's not very active. I don't have anybody in my church that is active in it. So
can we be nosy and ask what presbytery?
It's Lehigh.
Oh, I was gonna say I don't know.
There may be one. I may just be out of the loop, which is possible.
At one time, Lehigh did have a group. I can tell you that because years and years ago, they did a Bible exchange at the churchwide gathering. And the presbytery that I used to be in, we got the Bible from Lehigh. And when the new moderator, it's a long story, but I ended up with the Bible, and they made Bible covers. And the cover is a needlepoint. It's gorgeous. And I ended up with it because the new moderator didn't see any reason to have that. So I didn't pass it on. I was selfish. I'm a quilter. I did needlepoint, and I thought, you know what? I've used it a lot. But anyway, it came from Lehigh. That's the funny part.
We are in the Synod of the Living Waters, which is out of, and I'm going to say Lexington, Kentucky, but it isn't.
No, it's Kentucky, and it's Kentucky South.
Yes.
Yeah. Mississippi, Alabama.
It's Louisville, Kentucky. I always get Louisville and Lexington confused.
Well, Mid Kentucky is in the Living Waters, but that's in Louisville. That's
right, in Louisville. Well, that's where we're out of. And we get tremendous amount of support from them. And Jan Albert, who is the PW moderator out of our synod, is a wonderful woman who gives us tremendous support. Mm-hmm. And so if you're feeling that as a PW, you're not getting synod support, you might want to really check into that and see if there's some way that could change. Because there's a lot going on and a lot of things that you can get a hold of, be involved in, that are fun and important, and mission work and so on, that make a difference. And so that's where you would get that information.
Is Lehigh in Synod of the Trinity or Northeast?
In the Trinity.
In the Trinity. Okay, you have a synod rep that comes from that synod to the churchwide to the board, the churchwide board. And if you send me a chat and send me your email, I'll tell you who it is.
Okay.
I'll let you know who it is. I'll connect you.
Sounds good. I like connections.
Uh-huh. But that's one of your best ways, because that'll get you started. Every synod has a representative that goes to the churchwide. And so they should be bringing stuff back from churchwide, but also that's a connection for you in the local church to find out what's going on in the synod.
Great.
thank you, Carol. I appreciate that.
No problem. Happy to do it.
Yeah. I'm also a quilter, so I like seeing all the quilts on the walls.
It is fun, isn't it?
I love it. My mom got me into it. I swore I never would, and then she took me into a fabric store, and it was kind of all downhill from there.
Well, do you really want me to show you my fabric? I just got a new sewing room, and I probably should be
Carol. So yes.
Let me see if I can do it. I mean, I love it. It's just so inspiring.
Oh my gosh, I'm so jealous. It's
Oh.
fabric envy.
Whoever dies with the most fabric wins.
Oh,
it's a real game. You laugh, but it's a real game.
It is a real game.
We play hard.
That's my license plate.
I have 50 bins, 50 cubbies.
Wow. So do you take 2 weeks off? You know, you could have one cup for a project a week. It would be nice.
Well, I don't right now. I'm doing some things that I haven't. When I moved, when I moved my room from a smaller room to here, I actually got to see really what I have and dug out some old things. Actually, the quilt that my daughter was working on, I was in a Zoom meeting and I just looked up and there was a shoebox and it said something on it and I was like, "What is that? I don't even know what that is." I didn't think it didn't say what I thought was in it, and I opened it up and lo and behold, all of these blocks were made that I had started years ago and had totally forgotten about. And I said to my daughter, "Do you still want this?" And she said, "Do you still want it?" And she said, "Yeah, and I want to sew it together." And I was like, "Yes."
Okay, so seriously, how do we connect all of the quilting people? Because I mean, Myra Cook and y'all are like a group waiting to happen.
It's true. That's true.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, everyone's self-selecting in. Yes, I mean, but really, there needs to be a way to do this. There is, for those of you who don't know, and this might be an option, there is a Facebook page called PCUSA Worship and the Arts.
Yeah, that's
and so, that might be a place where folks could join, and then you could all connect on there. And since I moderate that Facebook group, I promise I'll let you in. But there's also there is conversation. There hasn't been recently because there's been no art going on in worship because
Oh, there has been at our church.
Well, not the same kinds of group things we've seen before, just because.
Oh, all right, yeah.
So, but it really, we need to work on this whole fabric quilt thing.
We are in the process of building a new church. And I'm in the process right now of doing some new pieces for the new church. This has just been a wonderful journey because I'm also on the committee that's building the church. And to watch the other members of the committee pick colors and surfaces and all those fun things. And then that just stimulates my creative juices. and so the pieces that I'm doing are really, really going to be fun. I'm hoping they really enjoy them.
Those of you that quilt, do you create banners then that get hung in the sanctuary representing the different seasons?
I don't.
No, I've made a banner, and I have a banner that I want to make that I saw at a church in North Carolina, and I want to adapt it and do it, but I have not done it yet. We're getting a new minister the 1st of August, and she loves fabric and colors. So I'm kind of waiting until she gets here. But I think I looked at our paraments when we're not worshiping right now in the sanctuary, but I looked at them the other day, and the one they have up right now for green, it's just the ugliest thing in the world. It's faded olive green, and it's so ugly. And I really would like to make something so that there would be a new banner, a new paraments in the sanctuary, and just not say anything. They'll know it came from there's another friend that quilts with me from church, but they can guess where it came from. I don't care, but I just think it needs to be replaced in the worst way. Oh, it's so awful. It's just embarrassing.
Well, at the Mendocino Presbyterian Church, there was a group of about 5 artists that designed the banners, and then a quilter created them. And it's really nice to have those.
It is. We used to have banners and they took them all down. So we had them that had to do with confessions. Those were the banners that were made from the confessions. I'll tell you, if you ever want to see neat banners, and it's out there on the internet, Rhoda Fraser has made some spectacular banners and stoles and those kind of things. She made all the stoles for Churchwide. So
I found too that once you do it, you're expected to do it all the time.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of other things that I'm expected to do
that's
all the time.
Yeah, I understand. We get a lot of scraps and stuff, and we make quilts for Family Promise.
Yeah.
So when they leave, they can take a quilt with them. But they're all sizes, shapes, and colors. I can tell you that.
We also have quite a few ladies that sew, and they sew banners. We don't need to have somebody that can quilt to do banners.
We have, we're a tiny, tiny church in rural Texas, but we have a bunch of ladies that like to sew, and we make dresses for little girls that have never owned a dress. There's a group called Dress a Girl Around the World, which is a Christian-based organization, and so that's what we mostally do.
That's like little dresses for Africa.
Yes, that's very similar. Yeah. And we had a 93-year-old gentleman who would come, and he was a Navy chaplain, and he would come and make our seam bias tape for us. He would.
Oh, wow.
He would. He's still alive. He's will be 100 this year. He quit a few years ago, which is understandable. But anyways, he would fold it and iron it and make sure that our seam bias tape was just right.
Wonderful.
Wow.
Yeah. A lot of fun.
I make banners when I do them these days out of paper because A, they're recyclable, and B, they don't last forever. So you use them, you recycle them, and then you don't have to have that, oh, but we've always had this banner.
Right.
It's terrible now.
Do you do the paper cutting? Is that what you do, or just draw them on the paper?
Various and sundry things. Yeah. Depends on whether I'm doing them or whether I have a group,
Yeah.
But all kinds of different paper techniques and things that they hang beautifully and then they go away.
That at the churchwide gathering, the last one in Louisville, we had those, the backdrop was all the paper cutting, and that was so beautiful.
It was.
I tried to get a group to do that, and they were all like, "Well, how are you going to hang it?" And then they came up with every excuse in the world. But we did make the Advent candles to try. Yeah. That was our first one, but I still want to do one for. We have rafters, and I wish we could just do it. And I know we can hang it; it's not bad, but
it's a great technique to use for a parament.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, it is.
Size is great, and because people can get up close to it and see, okay, I see how that happened, or that's really cool, or so that might be a place to start.
Yeah, South Atlantic, Kelly you all did that where they had the face of Jesus when it was the Who is Jesus Bible study, and
yes,
and every plenary the color changed behind it.
Oh. I'm glad you noticed. So many people did not notice that.
Oh, I did. Yeah, well, of course, I'm into color, so. But that was so cool.
Sometimes we find that people can find more excuses not to than
You're right.
willingness to.
Oh, not in the church where everything is perfect and wonderful because we all love Jesus. Surely not.
Well, I go to a different church apparently.
I have a friend, a pastor friend whose father is not church. Her family was not church, so she's the aberration in her family. And he said that to her one day. Well, I can't help it if you work in the church where everybody's always nice and things are perfect, which shows that you don't ever go to church.
Well, being Christian is not always being nice.
No, unfortunately, no.
We're human.
Absolutely. Isn't somebody said church is a hospital for sinners, not a country club for saints?
Yep. That's good.
All right, anybody going to be ready to do a show and tell for where you are? You don't have to be finished yet. But
Mine is a teapot.
oh, that's cool.
He is always my calming influence. Even the back was very much dark green and blue, but I love the way the white has muted everything, and it's not quite as garish as
that's gorgeous.
Okay, so quilters, the joke was made by Louisville staff. Okay, how do we turn one of these illustrations into a quilt so that they can give it away? But seriously, looking at that, it looks like you could use a batik to do the shape, and then the white, or do an overlay of organza or something, blah, 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 blah. So
sounds like you want to make it.
That's what. Do some reverse applique over organza using organza.
Right, so one of you quilters should do that.
Yeah, one of us.
I would do it, and I would get it done, long about 22. So
everybody raise their hand.
I've made quilts for PW. I wrote the directions for that one that Debbie did and made most of them for the one they gave away. I don't remember what the name of that Bible study was, where you did a block every month. You had 9 blocks.
Mm-hmm.
I did that one. I've made a PW symbol.
I think it would be nice, Lynn, if some of the people were willing to share so that they could be added to the end of your presentation, so people who are watching could kind of know what we did.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So I can show you where I'm at right now.
Oh, wow.
So I made a stencil for hands praying, and then one for heart, and then I sprayed the whole thing where the stencils were with white, and now I'm outlining the hands with something to make them stand out.
Wow. Stencil and spray, that's a good idea.
I had to do something so that my base paint didn't dry. And so I had to do stuff that I could get done today. So.
Nice.
I don't know if you can hear me or not.
We can.
Okay. I kind of went with a greenish cast to my first layer, which suggested a landscape to me. So I went with kind of a mountain theme and a lake. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Mountains and trees. Doesn't get much better than that. Love that.
I'll share mine and then I have to run. I did Mine's all purple.
Oh, that's cool.
Not the color I expected it to be, but there it is. That's what happens when you mix blue and purple and some white. So there's that, and I did some birds.
Love that. Nice. Thank you.
Thanks for doing this. I'm gonna go eat dinner, but it was really great to paint with you all.
Well, and Jenny's going to connect you with
That's
Sue.
awesome. I put in the chat, I did look up that our presbytery does have one, so I don't get the presbytery in trouble for saying they don't.
That's all right.
But I'll have to follow up and see if that's how active that is and how to get more connected.
You might be a real blessing to them.
We'll see. Thank you very much.
Rebecca, check out Northumberland. We're not that far away from you.
Okay.
We have only 7 women's groups, but we have some really neat stuff. So check out Northumberland.
Awesome. Thanks, Christine. Night, everybody.
Night.
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 All right. Anybody else want to show and tell for a moment?
I just did a puff piece, a puff plant that were sent, that, you know, God sends us to all places in the world.
Okay.
Once we, I know. I don't know. That's what floated my boat tonight.
It's a winner. I like it.
I will show it not because I'm proud of it, but because I want everybody else to know that they can do something, even if they're not artistic like the rest of you. So these are masks, because I'm lamenting that we have to wear masks everywhere we go.
There you go.
Great.
Maybe I should put maybe this should be the COVID plant, and I need to put a mask over here. There you go. That's maybe I might have to change this. Thank you for the inspiration.
That is awesome.
That is wonderful.
And those actually look like real masks too.
They do look like masks.
I started drawing circles, and I was only going to draw 2 because that's what you talked about. And I thought, well, that looks dumb. And I do more circles, and then suddenly I realized that this is a picture of lament. That it is a picture of all of the lives of people who are now in the lake. Not drowned people, but we who live on the edge of this lake love it so much that that's where all our ashes go. And I realized that is the interconnectedness of all of the lives of important people in my life who are now on the lake.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, it turned out really cool. I mean, it's not a good picture. I'm not a peanut. I just suddenly imagery of the whole thing. I just kept drawing circles, and all of a sudden, that's what it was.
There you go. Good for sticking with it.
That was cool. So thank you. I'm also curious. I know the rest of you talk about campus, but I'm also curious if any of the rest of you are doing any of this by Zoom, and I would love to be in touch if you are. Leading a circle or a Bible study class by Zoom.
Well, I'll tell you, our church, First Pres downtown, we have open circle every Thursday morning at, I want to say it's 10 or 10:30, and we love it. We, as far as I love that the challenge has been that it's typically not a time when if you're working you can go to it, but now that we're all in the world of Zoom land, you can actually go to it. Then in addition to that, we have a Monday night Bible study, which of course is virtual, and then we've got Wednesday night Vespers. So I actually so I have a daughter with a disability. So Sundays are really hard for us because we don't have caregivers, and I don't have to choose between feeding my daughter breakfast and going to church anymore. I can do both. And so that's actually a really great, a silver lining, shall we say. So if you'd like, I'd be happy to.
I'm similarly situated. I don't know if you saw my son. He's now gone to bed, but I have a son with disabilities. and who's 30, who still lives with me, and so I hear you. I really hear you. And that's what we're finding. We're doing lots on Zoom. I lead a weekly meditation group, and we didn't miss 1 week. We went right to Zoom, boom, and Bible study and so on and so forth. But I'm also looking for creative ways to do this lament series in Zoom. I don't want to just do there's so many cool ways we could do this if I was actually in person with people, but my assignment is to take it to Zoom. So it's never, no matter what happens, it's still going to be on Zoom.
Right.
There are 2 other circles in the church that will be in person, if that's possible. But I am looking for some really creative, because I would love to do something like this. But I don't know how I get supplies to people. It's doing an art project with people, many of whom will probably be shut in some way, would be kind of challenging. So I'm looking for some creative ways to.
I think part of it too is whether or not you want it to be interactive or not. If you don't want it to be interactive, you can obviously do like a YouTube live or a webinar. But if you want it to be interactive, it would have to be something like this. And then you'd have to have a Zoom license, and it would have to go up to, a certain amount of numbers. And then how do you advertise it? You'd have to probably advertise it through the presbytery, through PCUSA. How did they advertise this?
We're doing it through our church. We're going to advertise it through our church, and we already have a Zoom license.
We do. Our presbytery bought a Zoom license for all the churches in the presbytery to use.
They're only $100 a month. I mean, $186. I don't remember something.
We own. My husband and I own one because we both volunteer for a lot of organizations,
right?
And so it was just easier for us to have one that the organizations use. However, we also, our PW, now I Zoom my lessons to them, but we also meet, we all bring our lunch and we park in a circle, with our cars, and we eat, we all sit behind the trunk and we eat, have a picnic. I mean, we're doing a lot of those kinds of things because we feel the need to get together.
Mm-hmm.
And now last night, 3 of us, we had missed each other. And so 3 of us got together and we Zoomed just the 3 of us. In planning, we're all officers of the PW, and in planning what we were going to do and how we were going to do it, we just had to get together to do it. So we find ways to continue to work for the Lord. You just got to do what you got to do.
There's your answer.
There you are.
Do any of you have a maybe a presbytery Bible study group? Women that I happen to be in a church that we don't have an active PW,
right.
And so it's always hard to find somebody to do the Bible study together. And that was one of the things that I'm kind of pushing a little bit to see if our presbytery PW would maybe host the Bible study. So for those people that can't do their own, or that they would, or they need a group to do it, kind of like this thing, like we're doing tonight.
I do it for 3 churches.
Oh, good.
Because there are some churches just can't find somebody that's willing to put the time and effort into preparing the lessons and, whatever.
Yeah.
As a former school teacher, 3 lessons. I mean, 1 lesson you teach 3 times once a month is nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, I used to do 7 lessons a day. So, 1 a month is a piece of cake.
Carol, do you do other things with them?
One of them is a nursing home.
Okay.
So I really don't have to do too much else with them because they have an activity director and all of that. Another one, the other one, no, I don't do anything else because they're pretty much independent and they just wanted to do these Bible studies. So that's all I do with them.
I need to interrupt for just a minute, and I apologize. I just wanted to say thank you very much, but I have to go. Thank you. This was very delightful.
Thank you. Love your picture.
Thank you.
Do it again. Oh,
What's
I
that?
love that. Love that.
So,
The hands are beautiful.
thank you.
Is
Bye-bye.
We are also gonna.
Beth and Betsy, is there a way we could send an email to folks and y'all who are still here to like let you take a picture of your piece and email the picture to either to Betsy or Steph, and then let's have those and do something with them on the website?
Sure.
Be a great idea.
I think that sounds great.
Yeah, that'd be good.
I can type it, or I'll type in my email, and we'll start with that. And then, if we want to expand, we can. But
So we don't have a registration for the class?
Pardon?
Betsy, Lynn,
Oh, that's a great point. Jeff?
This is Steph. I will be sending out a follow-up email like I normally do for the webinars that we host. So from that, you'll have my email address, and you all can just send the image there.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. We have to head out. Thank you so much for hosting tonight.
Thank you for
You're
being
welcome. Thanks
here.
Bye.
But do we get to see the final? Do we get a quick look at the final of your two pictures?
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
oh, cool. Wow.
Wow. Let's see.
Well done.
Hold them up again.
Not when you hold them up, and I can see it. That urn is fabulous. Look at those hands.
Those are beautiful.
Beautiful.
Can you hold that up again, please, and maybe
she's gonna take a screenshot.
just say a word so your face will pop up and not everyone else's.
Hi.
Wow.
Got it. I wanted to do a few screen captures. Thank you.
You guys are so kind. Thank you. Thank you. Have a good night.
Bye. Night.
Okay, I'll do mine next. I have this stencil. I don't know if you can see it. Let me look here. It let's see, where am I? Okay. Can you see what it says? There's a little bit of glare.
Oh, that's nice.
Oh, that's cool. More of what makes you
happy. But it's only, I don't know, 4 by 4, 5 by 5, something like that, very small. So I am painting it on there in black.
And so we see.
Nice.
There. Yeah. So I'm not done yet, but
there you go.
My heart happy. Let me see it.
That is good.
I turn my tears into flowers. Puff flowers.
Well, I guess I decided it was a night sky with lots of shooting stars and comets and space station and all of that.
It's very Van Gogh.
No, not exactly. Actually, it's foam stencils that I used to make a floor cloth many years ago.
Well, you've recycled your stencil very well. I love that.
I'm not sure I'm finished. I'll think about it.
Hey, I tell my students all the time, put it away, come back to it, look at it again with fresh eyes. You never know. Well done.
Thank you very much for this. I really enjoyed it.
Good.
Okay, here's my bluebird.
The bird! Your bluebird flew in.
It doesn't look like yours, but it's my bluebird.
Wow.
It didn't have to look like mine.
So A bluebird.
Nice.
I just stuck some flowers on.
Oh, that's cool.
Flowers are always good. Nice. I like that there's a dark one and a light one.
Yeah.
Nice balance.
Well, thank you very much. I've enjoyed it.
Glad you came. Thank you.
All righty. Enjoy it, everyone, and everyone stay safe.
Yeah.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you.
This was wonderful. Thank you so much for doing this.
My
Oops.
pleasure.
Yeah,
Thanks, Lynn.
Thank you.
Thanks for letting me in at the last minute. When I got home today from running around, I didn't have supplies ready, but I wanted to come in and at least watch everybody and see what happened.
Oh,
I did set up at the church that we can do as many as 8 at a time legally. I'm in Jacksonville, Florida, and they're kind of watching what we do. And Palms Presbyterian really is watching what they do too, just because we want to comply. I mean, we really want to be okay with everybody. Our numbers keep going up. It's just rising terribly. So COVID-19 looms large. And I think this is something we can do with at least 8 PW very soon. And I'm hoping I can do this. I have taught art in the schools before. And I'm mainly a music teacher. And I use, by the way, mostly classical. And maybe some Jimmy Buffett.
Jimmy Buffett, never a bad idea.
Love doing this. Thank you so much, Lynn. And thanks to everybody, Betsy and Stephanie and everybody who let me in. Thanks so much.
You're very welcome.
Good evening.
Thank you. Good to see you, ladies. Yeah. And it also to know this can be done by Zoom. It's still not safe, even with small numbers gathered together. It just isn't safe. We don't have enough respect for the COVID in this country. It's really very dangerous. And for us to just take care of ourselves and to show love for others, being able to shelter in place and use our masks. So I just really appreciate this Zoom opportunity to do this. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Laura, here's mine.
Here's Laura.
Where's Laura?
I'm from Texas, little tiny church in rural Texas called Bethel Presbyterian. We're south of Houston by almost an hour, 45 minutes. And so mine is all blues and greens and yellows, kind of a stormy sky looking. And so there's a white image of a person and then the image is gone. So it reminds me of COVID. It reminds me sometimes of how I feel so empty during this time. And also this political climate has become so hateful and nasty. And some of my friends have written such hateful things on their Facebooks and things, or said hateful things. And so I have unfortunately given up on our Facebook friendship because of that. So again, they're absent or, anyway, so this is kind of a lamenting of loss and people to death, to politics, to, just kind of, and emptiness. So
I love that. I mean, as much as you can love those things.
Yeah.
Your interpretation of it.
It's a healthier way to deal with it.
Oh, yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. So I'm playing with circles, but mine aren't done yet either. So
that's cool.
So we'll see what happens. Right now, it looks
I'm
like
going to
people
show you
are
mine.
getting ready to blow in. So, no, look at this.
And I have purples and then some, I had yellows on it initially. And then in this corner, you can see some people praying, some people praying. And I wanted to go from the lament of where we are to, again, something more hopeful up towards the top and the brightness of the resurrection leading us all into something better. So that's where mine ended out.
I love that. I love that you can
Thank you, Lynn. I'm sorry?
I should say, I love that you could see colors through because even on Zoom and a little thing, you can see that there's something behind. I love that up at the top.
Hold it up again.
Right.
Nice. Love that.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. It was nice meeting all of you.
Good to meet you.
Good to meet you too.
Okay, so here's mine.
Oh, cool. Oh, I love that.
Because I plan on using it, we're going to be doing the Bible study through Zoom as well. And because I plan on using this as a visual aid, that's why I went with the vessel. But this was originally going to be a bird, and it just didn't go that way. So much like the colors that I thought I was going to use, ended up not using at all. The shape I thought I was going to use didn't go there.
I always think that's when I'm doing the thing I'm supposed to be doing when it's not what I chose or thought or planned so I'm with
exactly. So anyway, I'm not sure yet if it's done, but it's going to. But I did play with using the water droplets and the removal, and it did work much better when it was wetter through here. I'm thinking about adding in another color, but I have to do dinner, and we've got something else going on tonight. But Katie is being brave and letting me show hers. She says she doesn't want to talk.
Well, that's cool.
You want to at least wave, honey? No, she doesn't want to. So she did.
She'll wave with her hand in the hand.
Yeah.
There you go.
But she, I am such a type A person, and she just gets so brave with her color choices and the way she blends. She puts things together that I never would have thought of, and it always ends up looking amazing. And so for her to then to just boldly go with this crimson handprint on this very, I don't know if it's showing up, but there's purple and blue and some yellow and coral, and I think did you end up using the green, honey? A little bit of green. I mean, she has ADHD, and she said that the background kind of represents what happens in her brain every moment of every single day. And that's what this is kind of like indicative of her brain and just in the background. And so the handprint is hers, and then she wrote in on the hand the main things that she feels represent her.
Oh, that art finger, that's the best one, Katie. You're awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, volleyball.
I don't know if you heard her.
In common, but I'm all over that art.
Yeah. So that's hers.
They are both wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I love that they're different while y'all were sitting, 6 feet from each other.
Yeah.
So,
exactly. Very indicative of how we are as people.
There you go. Art's the best. You know that, don't we, Katie?
Yeah.
She said yes. Well, but we both want to thank you very much for your gift of time and effort and energy in this. And I have to tell you that when I heard that the theme of this year's study was lament, I was like, you all want me to do 9 months of gnashing my teeth, rending my clothes, and wailing at a wall? No, I'm not going to do it. But then I attended your webinar and it just completely flipped the whole thing on its head. And now I'm sending out all sorts of emails. And so our planned attendance has now doubled. And I can't wait to dig into this material and really dive deep into it.
Thank you. I appreciate that, because when I told my circle what the subject was, yeah, they did that same thing. They just looked at me. They're like, "Are you kidding?" So thank you. I'm going to say, "Oh yeah, well, Leslie thinks."
Thank you. And we've took and thank you for everybody for being brave and sharing your artwork. Every piece is just really so cool. I love seeing stuff like this.
Good stuff. Bye. Thank you.
How did we know in, what was it, 2017, that we would need this?
Sadly, yeah.
Thank God.
It's amazing.
It's always, I think PW just has a knack for the serendipitous timing that happens often.
Well, I think it's God, you know? I don't know that we knew it, but God did.
I was going to say, I think we're listening to God.
Yeah. That's a great way to say that.
Absolutely.
We're listening to God and helping make it happen.
Oh, look what Susan added.
Okay, I have a sun star in there, and I've used the sun star does have a mask, and there's a lot of glitter in the surrounding area and also around the sun star.
Oh, you just tilted it a little and I could see some sparkle.
So that's the way to, there is light that is coming through the lament, through the loss. There are new things that do surface, and they're blessings.
I agree.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I just did one of Emma's hand in my hand.
Oh, no.
So we'll have this to remember.
I love that. Love the color that you use, that peach tone.
Yeah.
Nice. Love it.
Enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thanks for coming by, Emma.
Bye.
Anybody want to do last sharing as we wind down? I'm trying not to be that teacher, but I'm just really curious, Anne, what you're working on. You don't have to share, but I need you to know. I'm really curious.
Well, I don't really know what it is, but that's what it looks like.
Oh, wow. That's
good.
Yeah.
It was kind of, I'm sitting at my table and there's an orchid. And so when I did the white drop, this white drop reminded me of my orchid. So I just kind of made it go that way.
Absolutely. I love the scale of it. It's big.
It is kind of big.
Love that. Wow.
I've enjoyed this though. Thank you so much.
Glad you were part of it, and thanks for sharing that.